Welcome everybody. I'm back again already for another non-sellout show. And maybe it wasn't long enough for some of y'all. Maybe it was just the right time, because I had to come back when I did, because there's something really going on in the news I had to talk about, and that's good old Joe Rogan again. He's hurting people again. I got to jump in on this because Joe Rogan's hurt me too. I just got to tell y'all, Joe Rogan's hurt me a couple times. One time he said he didn't like the Grateful Dead. He didn't share the same opinions as me about the Grateful Dead. And didn't stop there. The man had to go on and mock them. He said, oh, this is one of their good songs. He said, truckin'. He said it like that, and it actually goes, truckin'. See the difference there, Joe? How could you do that to me, Joe? And if that was the only thing the man did, I probably wouldn't have to make this video, but he couldn't stop there. Joe went as far as to say, when he's talking about his opinions and stuff, he's like, oh, don't listen to me. He's like, I don't know why everybody puts so much weight in what I say. I'm just a dumb guy. He said that. The man said that. Now, Joe, that's easy to say when you got 10 million listeners. You know, I'm trying to get people to listen to me. That man's been kicked in the head and punched countless times, and he's still better spoken than me. And now I'm trying to get listeners. He's got 10 million listeners. The man's having conversations with intellectuals in all these different fields. A couple of these conversations a week. 3 hours of conversation a week. Now, that's a lot of lecture time. If you're sitting in college listening to the lectures from intelligent people, that's a lot of information to be. I can't get smart people to talk to me. How am I supposed to get smarter, Joe, if I can't get listeners? And how am I going to get listeners if you're saying you're dumb and shouldn't be listened to? So stop it, Joe. Straighten up and get your life straight now. Come on. Stop hurting people. That's the thing, is Joe, he doesn't hurt people so much as he butt hurts people, you know. And Joe, dumb lives matter, first of all. You know, I'm a victim of you. And you butt hurt people. And butt hurt's different than regular hurt. Because regular hurt, like being caused physical pain, that's one thing, you know. But butt hurt is a funny thing. It's not so much physical pain. Like, you can get flipped in the earlobe, you can get flipped in the nose, you can get flipped in the nipple and the chest, or for God's sakes, you get flipped in the nuts or flipped in the eyeball. That's physical pain, but you can retaliate for that kind of physical pain with physical pain. But if somebody flips you in the butt cheek, that's what butt hurt is. It's not, you can't retaliate with anything more than another flip back in the butt. And some people, see, the thing about butt hurt is it's a humiliation pain. It's not an actual hurtful pain. Now, there's probably guys out there that could actually say that Joe Rogan has caused them physical pain. They say, like, me and Joe, we were sparring and stuff, and I was going about half speed, and Joe, he cracked me in the rib, and he bruised my rib, and it knocked the breath out of me. I was hurting when I laid on my side at night, but nobody wants to hear a story like that, because they want to talk about hurt feelings. They don't want to care. Nobody cares about physical pain that Joe Rogan might have caused somebody, because the people that are talking about it don't experience the type of physical pain that might ever come from that. So they're worried about hurt feelings. But Joe, this recent thing, using the N-word, not nugget, but I can say nugget, so I'm going to say nugget. There's a video out of Joe saying nugget a bunch of times. He's like, and so they call me a nugget. I called them a nugget, and I've said the word nugget, and this has been a nugget, and I've had buddies when we all called each other nuggets. Nugget, just on and on, saying the word nugget, all out of context, all cut up. But the thing is about Joe hurting people with the word and hurt feelings with the word, it wasn't Joe put the video out for all these people to take it in and have hurt feelings over. And actually, the girl that made the video was probably just wanting to make a viral video, not hoping it would go viral. But the media market, people that jumped on top of that and put it out, they do this stuff all the time. They don't care. They don't care if what they put out causes a race riot, and that race riot turns into a race war, and a race war turns into a world war. That's all just more marketing media. And yet they say Joe needs to have more responsibility for what he says and how it can affect the world. So that's where we're at with that. Joe. And Joe's not licensed to speak. And freedom of speech is doesn't say you're supposed to have a license. Nobody says you have to have a license to have freedom of speech, but the New World's trying to say something you should have to have a license because, you know, Joe's has voiced opinions about medical things. And even though voicing an opinion about a medical thing, not supposed to have a license for, but now, oh, it's a special situation we're going through now, because for special times, because it's a war. It's not a war in any sense we've heard of before. It's a war on a microscopic organism that persons might see or might not see. Well, I got to tell y'all, I spent the last 2 years working as a maintenance mechanic in a hospital. And that's not working on the physical body, but I was around the hospital, and to be honest with you, as far as like seeing people coughing and spitting up and gagging, all the stuff you might even think, even if you don't think that the vaccine should be mandated, you probably still assume that things were worse in the hospitals than what they were. Like I said, I didn't see shit, man. I'll be honest with you there. But not only that, you know, we're talking about, I wasn't one caring for the patients that come in. I'd pass them, and I'd see people coughing or dropping dead in the hallways or nothing like that you might expect. But what I can testify to is being around some doctors, and I can promise you this much. Not every doctor is really all that smart. I hate to say it. And the thing is, you got to think about a 70-year-old doctor got their degree 40 years ago. Okay, they got their degree before the Atari 2600 was out. They got their degree before the Commodore 64, and yet nobody's saying that they can't run that CAT scan machine because their training didn't cover that at the time they got their training. You know, so just because Joe doesn't have a medical degree doesn't mean he doesn't know some things about even COVID that some doctors might not know. And who am I to say that? Well, I'm just a dumb guy, but hey, dumb guys are allowed to speak too, and I don't really believe I'm a dumb guy. And Joe don't believe he's a dumb guy either. Joe, stop lying. So anyhow, we got that for doctors, but this is something I could almost bet on. I bet you, if I could turn back time, I could trade it, and if you'd allow me to, if fate would allow me to, the universe, I could trade in 10 points of IQ. Give me a 10-inch penis and 100 grand, and I could come out with a medical degree. I bet I could. It's all about how you play them cards, and guess what? The intelligence card isn't always the most certain one, kiddies. You better know that. You better know that. Now, Joe, he hurts people in a broad, indirect way. That's what they're saying. They're saying he hurts these people in these broad, indirect ways by voicing his opinion on things. But meanwhile, the same people who talk about hurt feelings attack the man on height in the most direct way. They say the man's, he's just a short guy. They height shame him. The thing is, that's so funny about that is like, you attack something a man can't control at all, his height he was born with. But what he can control, everything he had in his power to do, he made himself tough and buff and smart. And what really kills people that they want to get hurt about him if they want to hate Joe is then he's not just these things. He's not a misogynistic asshole even with all that, and he's compassionate. And he's the people who think that they're left and want him to be on the other side of the fence from him. Well, he's liberal in the same way I've always thought of myself as liberal, someone who believes in liberty. He doesn't believe that you should be so much controlling other people's lives with your opinions, and that's what they hate about him. They don't want the tough, buff guy that can MMA fight and shoot a bow and do all this shit to also be a compassionate, caring person that cares about people's feelings. That doesn't hate based on the things that they wish he did. They really, really wish he did because he doesn't fit their image because of something that they lack, that he has, that they haven't compensated in ways that he's compensated in to make himself as strong as he could make himself. So they attack him on something he can't control, that he's not a tall guy. Now, Donald Trump could at least lie, or I don't know if he's lying or not, but when they try to insinuate Donald Trump had a small penis based on his hand size, he could say, my penis is actually quite big. I think I sound more like Bill Clinton when he said that. Impressions ain't my thing, but they couldn't really call him out. Well, Joe can't be like, I'm actually 6'1". He's stuck with that. And the irony is, man accused of speaking down with a nugget thing. That's to use the word, that's down speech. And the metaphorical purpose of downspeak is the literal way that they're attacking the man. They're speaking down about his height. That's where the metaphor for speaking down comes from. So they're literally doing the thing they're accusing him of metaphorically doing. Now the funny thing is anybody who's any white guy, well, I don't know about any, I can speak personally from my perception that as a white guy, to be called a nugget by a black person, it's actually quite uplifting, because you feel like you've been lifted up to that level of nugget coolness. You know, like, now, the irony, but to be downspoken to, ironically, is to be called a white boy. And you can say it's not the same thing, but guess what? You're not talking down to a black person when you call them, oh, you black guy. Because you can't say black boy, because boy is down speech, and you cannot say that. That's down speech. But white boy is quite okay to say, and it is down speech, and it does what it's meant to do. It speaks down to you, and there ain't nothing you can do about that. So what do you got to say about the irony of that? Except for, I can say, I love people of all races. And that probably butt hurts some people, that's the truth. So, but you know, when I was called, a couple times I was called a nugget by a black person and felt uplifted by it. One time I actually did this. I actually said, does this mean I can call you nugget too? And they kind of rolled their eyes and gave me a no. And I kind of think it's probably like if you ask a girl if you can make a move on them. If you got to ask, you probably can't. See what I mean? And it's because if you don't have the confidence to just know you can, then even if you do, it's going to be awkward and probably not well received. Now that's the irony, is that you get to that, because I bring us into a whole nother thing with the vulnerability generally being thought of as a feminine quality. And back to butt hurt. Well, we all got a butt. And male, female, this and that. And the vulnerability of the butt is you can't watch. It's vulnerable because you can't defend what you can't see. And you kind of very difficult to see your butt. So the butt is a vulnerability thing, and the femininity is a vulnerability thing. But now it's not necessarily gender specific. And to illustrate that, you got to think of the dog and the cat. Now, a male cat is more feminine than a female dog, in the general sense that we think of as feminine. So that's kind of illustrates how femininity is not necessarily gender specific. Now another way proves that it's a relative term is you think of fashion in 1600 Europe, with men wore the tights and stuff like that. But that all changed rather quickly here in America, and I kind of picture that as the way things change is through the youth. And I picture some little boy getting sent out in his leotards by his mom in the 1600 America, and meanwhile there's a slave and there's an Indian boy, and this kid's got this little white boy, he wants to play with him, and he goes out like that. He's got to go back, mom, come on. So he's got to changes his breeches, and he comes out and dressed up, and that's how Cowboys and Indian game got started. See, it's how with the play kids playing, and that changed the fashion in America. It's like, Mom, I can't go out there looking like this. It's a vulnerability thing. The kid felt vulnerable around the other boys. So, but now with the vulnerability, the move making thing with the Me Too movement and stuff like that. Now the vulnerability, the man feels vulnerable against the attack. So now that quality of where it's normally associated with vulnerability being a female thing, the female's not so vulnerable anymore. So now you take Joe, he's got to feel pretty vulnerable now, and he should, because he's being attacked by all these people. But now Ellen, she was attacked, but how she come out looking, probably pretty sexy to a lot of women, because she comes across as a take charge type of gal, and there's probably some girls are like, ooh, that turns me on. So see, it's not necessarily a gender thing. Good for Ellen. And Joe, well, they say they want Joe. A lot of people want Joe to submit he's wrong. But you be careful what you ask for, because Joe could admit he's wrong, because he's talked about how he didn't like men competing in MMA. But you push a man too much, he might come out as Josephine and start whooping some ass in the octagon. And I don't know how you women would take to that very well, but hey, you said be careful what you ask for. I don't know, I'm not necessarily saying all just women attacking Joe. But Joe, as for me, what you can do for me to admit you're wrong, Grateful Dead, 100-Year Hall. Now listen, forget Duncan Trunsell's Grateful Dead. And because that man, he was more imitating the Deadheads out in the parking lot and getting by on that and having a good time with getting, you know, the hippie thing that could bring him more than he was taking in the Grateful Dead. And don't wait around for the movie coming out with Seth Rogen's old brother playing Jerry Garcia. The real Jerry Garcia. Now, 100-Year Hall, 200 micrograms. Talk to me through mental telepathy in the morning, brother.